for me here, Margot?
Yeah, hi. We're on. We're live, yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to HealthierLife.tv. Let's get this little bit out of the way. HealthierLife.tv wants to inspire people of all ages to live a life of complete health through education and information. We cover all aspects, including barking dogs. Can hear that in the background. We cover all aspects of health, wellness, sports, and fitness of human beings. So, welcome to everyone. And today, the heading or the thing we're going to talk about is the power of hormones. So, very important subject. So, as an opening statement, do you want to say anything, Warren?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today, you're going to find out a little bit about how your body functions.
Just a little bit.
Inside of your body. The inside of your body.
Bit. I mean, they actually say, you read various things, and some things say there's about 200 different hormones. I mean, we ain't going to talk about them. Trust me. But what we're going to talk about, it's about 10. They're all important because synergy is important with the body. The body needs everything. Okay?
100%. Yeah.
100%. But there's well-known ones. Some say they're the more important ones, but I like to say that they're probably the most well-known ones. Okay? One of the well-known ones we're not going to cover is melatonin. Okay? But so I'm gonna kick off. I'm going to do my one first. We're going to bounce back between each other. And right, the first one we're going to talk about is insulin. Now, I think, unless you've been living in the wilderness with no education or television or books or anything, news, you should know that insulin is extremely important. Insulin is a hormone. Again, this is about hormones. And it plays a key regulation of blood glucose levels. So a lack of insulin or an inability to adequately respond to insulin can lead to the development of the symptoms of diabetes. And I'll cover 1 and 2 in a sec, but not in any great detail though. In addition, insulin has a role in controlling blood sugar levels. Insulin is also involved in the storage of fats. So I didn't think about that. I think I knew it in the background, but I didn't really know until I started doing a bit of research. So just very quickly, Warren, do you personally know anyone with level 1 or 2 diabetes?
Yeah, I do actually. I mean, yeah, I do know people most predominantly with level 2, type 2 diabetes.
Yeah,
more predominantly than type 1.
And yes, and that's one of the reasons I asked, because type 2 diabetes is more lifestyle based.
Yes,
it's not 100%, but generally speaking, it's how you've conducted your life in relation to things like nutrition and everything else, and stress, and basically, obviously, type 2 can kick in at any time if you don't look after yourself. Would that be a fair assessment?
That would be a fair assessment. Look, some people do have, they do try to look after themselves. Excuse-moi, I've had a heavy lunch, folks. We had family over, and I cooked burgers for everybody, and and we had cake and stuff. So I mean, I know, and I've known people that look after themselves, and they do eat healthy, they are active, but unfortunately their body doesn't process food quite effectively enough for various reasons. A lot of that is to do with cell membrane fluidity and amongst other factors. And as a result of this, they develop the precursor to type 2 diabetes, the early indicators of type 2 diabetes. So, fortunately, in some cases, they've identified it early, and then it's kind of they've been able to get through that. But yeah, it's invariably, you're right, Paul. It's a lifestyle related thing, but it's not exclusively that.
No, I get that. I mean, some people can do everything right and still have a problem. So,
yes, 100%. It's like cholesterol. Some people they live healthy lifestyles, but they've got cholesterol problems. Pure and simple. No, I have an uncle who's like that.
Yeah. Okay. Now the trouble is, there's lots of people in I don't want to get too much into diabetes, but there's a lot of people in pre-diabetes, that don't really know it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so pay attention to what you're doing. That's what I would say.
Oh, I would say very close to the majority, if not close to that proportion of the population is bordering.
Yeah.
I'd say a very high percentage of the population are bordering on type 2 diabetes. Very large.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the other things I picked up by looking at different things about hormones, most of the problems, or a lot of the problems, come from inflammation.
True.
So there's a key for everyone. We should be looking at an anti-inflammatory diet as much as possible. So, okay, that's something we covered a couple of weeks ago, I believe.
Yes, we did.
So let's talk about the role of insulin in the body. Now, insulin, as you say, is a hormone, and it plays a number of key roles in body's metabolism. Okay, and we said before, insulin regulates how the body uses and stores glucose and fat. And many of the body cells rely on insulin to take the glucose from blood and turn it into energy, or for energy. Okay, so let's quickly talk about insulin and blood glucose levels. Insulin helps control blood glucose levels by signaling to the liver, right, and muscles and the fat cells to take in glucose from the blood. Okay, now, insulin therefore helps the cells take the glucose in to be used for energy. That's how it works. So if the body has sufficient energy, insulin signals the liver to take up glucose and store it as glycogen. Okay, so that's got that bit out of the way anyway. So and it can store up to about 5% as glycogen. Now, some cells in the body can take glucose from the blood without insulin, but most cells do require insulin to be present. So just very quickly, insulin and type 1 diabetes, the body produces insufficient insulin to regulate blood glucose levels. And that's why people have to have injections. With the type 2 diabetes, it's characterized by the body not responding effectively enough to insulin. And this is termed as insulin resistance. So again, and even with type 2 diabetes, you may need injections. Most people don't, but you may need them. So, right. So really and truly, there was one other thing I want to do, and that's insulin to do with fat storage, as well as be involved in blood glucose. Insulin is also involved in how fat is used by the body. When the liver is taken up its capacity of glycogen. Insulin signals the fat cells to take up glucose to be stored as triglycerides. Now, triglycerides are very, very important when it comes to being healthy as regards to diabetes. So it's a very, very important hormone. So again, think about inflammation. Always go back to inflammation, because that sometimes has a big control about insulin. Anyway, that's my bit about insulin. Very, very important hormone. And over to you for your first one.
that was a very good, very brief exit. Okay.
Yeah, well, again,
that's fine. I'm going to talk about
bored otherwise, so probably bored already, but I don't know.
No, I thought you were in the flow there, and all of a sudden, it's
no.
Okay, so I'm going to start off seeing as I want to give the ladies their space right now, and I'm going to introduce you to the female hormone, otherwise known as estrogen. All right, or more commonly known as estrogen. So yeah, estrogen it is referred to as the female sex hormone. So it helps in the reproductive organs for females, and also it lends to the female characteristics such as pubic hairs, breasts, and things like that. All right. Now, estrogen has, for men, we have estrogen. We have obviously higher levels of testosterone, but we do have estrogen, and for females, they have higher levels of estrogen typically, and then they have lower levels of testosterone. And then you have your androgynous ladies that have higher levels of testosterone in their bodies, but they are still female. So they have high enough levels of estrogen to make them female, but they have a very high level of testosterone, which makes them look more masculine, much more muscular, and things like this. But with estrogen, it's obviously a very important function for productive purposes. Okay. And on top of that, if you have too high levels of, if your levels of estrogen are too high, it can cause things like blood clots and strokes. All right. And it may also cause a thyroid dysfunction as well. So thyroid dysfunction, you typically in women, you'll get like a lump in the bottom part of the throat over here. Then they typically carry a lot of fat around the throat. You'll see, all right, a lot of water retention and that fatty look around the throat, like the turkey neck. Okay, so this is an indicator of a thyroid dysfunction. I have a sister-in-law who's for many years had that issue or that challenge with her thyroid and stuff like that. And it can also, the symptoms of high levels of estrogen can also be like fatigue and weight changes as well. All right, so high levels of estrogen can induce fat gain. In particular, for example, like when ladies eat a lot of soy-based products, and I think we've spoken about this before, probably on a previous talk, where when you're eating soy-based products, what it does is it mimics the estrogen, and the body, it acts like a kind of like a mimic, and it kind of like acts like not a leech, but what do you call those? What do you call it? Like you get those fish that attach themselves to sharks, and then they kind of live off the shark itself, and you get them, like they create like a symbiotic environment. So there's
nasty fish.
Nasty fish. No, they actually serve the shark.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm joking.
Yeah. So. And then the sharks protect the fish. But and the same with birds and crocodiles and stuff like that. There's certain birds. So with soy, what it does is it actually causes the body to produce more estrogen, unfortunately. So women typically do get fatter, and it's difficult for them to lose fat because they're eating soy-based products. But without going off on a tangent there, what could cause low estrogen is an eating disorder like anorexia, for example, okay, or extreme dieting that can cause low estrogen levels, which is really.
What about yo-yo dieting?
I would say yo-yo dieting is definite, because that's a form of it's an eating disorder. Yo-yo dieting, as much as anorexia is, it's an eating disorder. So yo-yo dieting definitely that can be a factor in terms of causing low estrogen levels in the body. But the thing is with yo-yo dieting, you're either starving yourself or you're indulging, you're gorging yourself. So when you're starving yourself, then your estrogen levels are going to be pretty low, I guess, in the function of the pituitary gland. So it's going to affect the functioning of the pituitary gland as well. Okay, and then your ovaries will produce less estrogen as you get older as well. So yeah, I mean, estrogen it's essential, but also many women don't realize that by having too much estrogen in their bodies, they can also be detrimental to their health as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it can be. Okay.
Okay, I'm looking at the comments here, and if I read the questions out, and you can answer them, Warren, if you can.
Please.
This is from Rosie. Hi, there's so much rubbish in our food. Yeah, I agree there. As a mum, when my two sons were younger, I always said, if you are peckish, have a bowl of cereal, not realising the amount of salt and sugar. Advertising and not understanding is a nightmare. How would you? I think we all know that a lot of these cereals are put together. You know, there's a lot of stuff in them. Maybe shouldn't be there, but
oh, most definitely, most certainly, that's the case. Yeah, and just to add to that, you know, we get a gluten-free cereal for Laura, because I mean, she's a kid and she likes a cereal, and we get her these like choco balls but they're gluten-free. But even so, in saying that, you know, there are other things inside of there that are not ideal for the health. Especially when you get the sugary ones. The one we get is like a cocoa balls. So it's not sugar coated chocolate, it's more cocoa powdered balls. But you know, it's such a difficult thing though, Rosie, because kids are kids, you know, and kids, they want to have these cereals and stuff like that, and it's very difficult to keep them away from that, because you want them to eat in the morning in particular, and it's a very quick and easy breakfast for them to have. But if they're peckish, I definitely would keep them away from that as much as possible. Seriously, when kids are peckish, fruit is the best thing. You know, it's going to give them that sugar kick, but it's natural, and they're getting fiber in their body, and that's the other most important factor, is that they're getting the fiber in their system. You know, without going too much on the side here, because I want to try to stick to the hormones, but don't let them have fruit juice, for example. Stay way away from fruit juice as much as you possibly can, because that's just so high in sugar. Whew,
are we talking about totally natural juices, or are we talking about the ones that they doctor?
Even fruit juice, like 100% fruit juice, it's going to be so high in concentrated sugars, and because on top of that, you're not getting any fiber inside there. So unless you get something like an orange juice that has got the cells, the orange cells inside, what do they call it? I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, you get that, so you can see the sediment at the bottom of the bottle if it's clear, and you can shake it around. That's kind of okay, because
all the bits.
Yes, that's kind of okay, because there's some fiber inside of that. So that's helping to slow down the absorption of the sugar in your system.
Yeah.
But if you're just having a pure like apple fruit juice or a normal orange fruit juice, that is, even if it's 100%, it's just so loaded. It's loaded with so much of pure concentrated sugar. Yeah, even though it's natural, because you're not getting any of the fiber that's slowing down that absorption. So again, kids' insulin levels are going to just go poof straight through the roof. Yeah, and and as Rosie's second question, does insulin work better when one exercises?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely it does. Yeah, it most definitely does work better when one exercises. Your body is able to monitor its own production of insulin, and on top of that, then control the function of it as well. So for diabetics, you know, in particular type 2 diabetics, it's essential that they're doing some form of physical activity.
Yeah.
Light, on the more moderate to light side, particularly for type 1, because of the risk of anemia and things like that. Okay. As far as I'm aware, that's a factor, if I'm not mistaken. But type 2, yeah, you want to be exercising. That's definitely.
Absolutely. Right, so I'm going to move on to my second one, and that basically is cortisol. Now, I think cortisol gets a bad rap, okay, because cortisol is actually an excellent hormone. Okay, now think of cortisol as nature's built-in alarm system. I think that's the easiest way to put it. It's your body's main stress hormone. It works with certain parts of your brain to control your mood. It controls things like motivation, fear, probably doubt and worry, and everything else. So now your adrenal glands, which are a triangle-shaped organ or organs at the top of your kidneys, make cortisol. That's where it comes from. It's best known for helping fuel your body in the fight or flight thing. When we all know about fight or flight. You get afraid about something and you're thinking about withdrawing or running away, okay, or dealing with something that's aggressive. It's an instinct, and obviously, and when there's a crisis, but you need it. Now, cortisol plays an important role in a number of other things as well. Some things that your body does, and now it manages how your body uses the carbohydrates, the fats, and the proteins. So again, it's not just about fight or flight, okay? Because again, that's where sometimes the only time it becomes a problem is that if you are under stress all the time, which can have an adverse, real adverse effects.
Oh yeah.
But cortisol helps keep inflammation down. It regulates blood pressure, increases your blood sugar glucose if you need it. So again, very important. Now here's a big one. It controls your sleep and your wake up cycle. Okay, and also it boosts energy, so you can handle stress and restore the balance. Okay, so again, it's very, and it's linked very much to the brain. There's a couple of parts. The pituitary gland is one of the places it comes from. Anyway, I don't want to go into it too, because you can really go off at tangents. But there are cortisol receptors all around the body, which are in most of the cells, and they receive and use the hormone in different ways. So I don't want to say any more than that because time's running on. So it's a very important. It is running on, yes. So so that's just to basically give you an idea. Very important, but one of the biggest challenges, as I say, is too much stress. So very quickly, after the pressure or danger has passed, your cortisol level should calm down. Your heart, your blood pressure, and other body systems will go back to normal. However, but if you're under constant stress, the alarm button stays on, and that's where you can get real problems. Things like anxiety and depression, trouble sleeping, weight gain. What was the other ones? Headaches, heart disease, memory and concentration problems. You name them. There's loads of them. Digestion. So again, you've got to learn also how to regulate your stress levels. Very, very important. Okay. So that's all I really want to say about cortisol. And is there anything else you want to say at all, really? About...
No need. Time's running on.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
I'm teasing.
It's just trying to get everything in, isn't it? So
yeah.
Right. What's your next one?
Ooh, the happy hormone.
Whoa! I love this one.
We're talking about serotonin. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a key hormone that stabilizes your mood. Really, it gives you that feeling of well-being, happiness, general well-being. Really, it enables the brain cells and other nervous system cells to communicate with each other, and it also helps with sleeping, eating, and digestion as well. So if you're typically a happier individual, you quite possibly have high levels of serotonin in your system flushing through your body on a regular basis. And if you just think about the last time you've really felt happy, you would have had serotonin flushing through your system, and that would have helped with things like, and it invariably does, if you think about it, when you've had a very jovial, happy time, maybe you've been out to watch a good movie, or you sat at home, watched a good movie, you've been to a party, you've had a happy time, good time, then you come home and you sleep really well as well. It's because your body is just flush with serotonin. So it is a great hormone, obviously, and I wish more people would be able to benefit from its impacts on the body, because there's too many people out there that clearly do not have enough serotonin running through their systems.
And and a lot of it is they don't exercise.
Yeah, because that will also, and this is the other thing, exercise as well. When you get that feel good factor from exercising, that's your serotonin. That's flushing through your system at the time. So definitely, I mean, it is definitely the happy hormone. Now, low levels of serotonin it's been known to have psychological effects on us. Okay, and these symptoms may be things like anxiety, a depressed mood, aggression, low self-esteem, poor appetite, impulsive behaviors as well. Sometimes people think impulsive behaviors are a good thing, but it's not. Very often we act impulsively when we are in a depressed state of being. We're not happy enough, so we act impulsively to try to give ourselves that kick, try to give ourselves that boost that we think we're going to get from being, acting impulsively. And it's kind of like a defensive mode that we go into when we are in that behavioral mode. So insomnia is another one, and irritability. So with serotonin, it's how to describe it. I'm trying to think. You can yeah.
No, I was just going to say, I just remember, that smiley face, the yellow one with the black eyes.
Yeah.
That's serotonin. That's the easiest way for me to
in a nutshell, in a picture.
Yeah.
Look, you can get serotonin through eating certain foods, okay, and particularly omega-3 rich foods. You can obtain serotonin through eating eggs, spinach, saffron, the spice saffron, which we touched on a few weeks ago when we were talking about spices, and seeds as well. These are the type of groups of foods that you could be eating to boost your serotonin levels naturally, and they're typically available to most of us, except for perhaps saffron. I mean, Paul and I, we market a product that has an extract from saffron in it that helps with things like your mood, your sleep, and things like that as well.
Yeah.
Which is called Affron. So that's an extract from saffron. It's a very potent. What's the word I'm looking for?
Aphrodisiac?
Not aphrodisiac, but yeah, I guess it gives you, because it does boost
similar type thing.
Yeah, it does boost your sexual drive as well. So yeah. And what else? Zinc as well is a great supplement to be taking, or source of nutrient in your system that will boost your serotonin levels as well. And in terms of fruits and vegetables, there are several fruits and vegetables that will be able to boost your serotonin levels naturally through tryptophan, tryptophan is found in fruits like kiwi fruit, bananas, pineapple, the different plantain type fruits, plums, and tomatoes as well. So tomatoes contain high levels of tryptophan in it. I wouldn't eat too much tomatoes, because that also leads to inflammation in the system as well. So, but if you're eating fruits, typically like the fruits I've covered, pineapple, bananas, kiwis, these kind of plums, and you're eating your eggs, your spinach, your omega-3 rich fish, you're going to be feeling pretty happy on a regular basis. At least your serotonin levels will be healthy at the very least, and it's going to help to keep those psychological factors at bay at best. So yeah, that's serotonin really.
Well, I find football has got to do with hormones, because when my team is not playing well, I'm sure the cortisol comes in, too much cortisol. And if they score a goal, if I ever score a goal, it's serotonin, isn't it? So,
and if you have a cup of coffee or a tea a day, it's also going to help.
Yeah,
boost your tryptophan production.
Not too much though.
No, that's what I'm saying. A cup of coffee or a tea a day. Yeah, that's going to help.
Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to testosterone. Now, again, this is another hormone that's produced by the human body. It's mainly produced in men by the testicles. There is obviously women do have testosterone, but again, estrogen takes over. It's because it's more for women. Now, testosterone affects a man's appearance and sexual development. So it's a very important one for men's mindset as well. It stimulates sperm production as well as a man's sex drive. It also builds or helps build muscle and bone mass. So again, it's very important. Now, it decreases with age. 2 out of 10 men from 60 plus have a lack of, and over 70, I think it's 3 out of 10. So who knows? It could be worse than that. This is the figures that they give out. So there's also a range of symptoms. All right, if the T levels, the signs of a low T, as they call it, and there's a couple of obvious ones. Low sex drive. Okay, it plays a key role in libido. Simple as that. And if you've got no desire for sex, then it could be that you're suffering from a lack of testosterone. Also, difficulty with erection. That's another one. I'm not going to go into it in too much detail there. And there's many reasons for that, for the lack of erection. Low semen volume. Again, as you get older, you don't worry about that too much. To hair loss. Now, I don't know what happened. Look, I must need testosterone. Look. Balding is a natural part of aging for men, but it could be an inherited component of balding, could be a lack of testosterone. All right. And also if you lack a bit of body or facial hair, well, I think I'm all right there. So
yeah, I think I'm okay.
I just don't know how to shave. Fatigue's another one, and a decrease in energy levels. Another one is loss of muscle mass. Okay, if you're starting to lose your muscle, that could be a sign. Increased body fat, going the other way, and looking worse. Decreased bone mass, well, okay, you're only going to know that as a weakness. You'll feel it more than anything. But you'll be susceptible to bone fractures. Now, another big one is mood changes, okay? Mood changes, again, is very important. If you've got a real serious depletion of testosterone, then you're likely to face depression, irritability, and lack of focus. So if you're not being able to focus on something, that could be the reason why. Again, it can affect memory as well. As you decline in age, sometimes your memory gets a little bit, goes down a little bit. But who knows? But it's just something to watch out for. And low blood count. Okay, so there's lots of things. It's very important. Now you can go to a doctor and have a testosterone blood test. So if you fancy or you think that you've got a problem with it. So again, it's very important, testosterone. So have you got any comments on testosterone, young Mr. Warren?
Young Mr. Warren.
Well, you're younger than me.
Yeah. Again, I want to just go back to ladies again. As ladies think that high levels of testosterone in their bodies are a bad thing because they're gonna pack on a lot of muscle and things like that, which it's just not the fact. It's not the case, unless they are, an androgynous, they have this natural production. If they are eating foods healthily and they're exercising and they're doing weight training and things like this, they may put on a little bit of muscle, but that's going to be good for them as they get older, especially for, bone density and things like this. So other than that, they've got nothing really to worry about. Testosterone is safe for them if it's produced naturally by the body, and it's just increased naturally due to activities and diet and stuff and so forth. But now in saying that, you get with bodybuilders where they take testosterone injections and supplements, the unsafe ones in particular, that will then, what that will do is, as you touched on, if too much, if your testosterone levels are too high, it reduces your sexual drive. Because what happens is, especially if you're taking a supplement of some kind, your body's not producing it naturally. So therefore, your sexual hormones are they're not functioning correctly, and that's why your sex drive will drop, because the body doesn't need to produce testosterone naturally, so it bypasses that function. But otherwise, yeah, when people have too much of anything, I guess it's going to have some impact on their system. It's going to be unhealthy. But also, if they have, on the adverse side of that, if it's too little, it's also going to have an adverse effect. So it's important that we have everything, but in balance.
One other thing, Warren, just came to mind. What's the South African female athlete? Is it Semenya or something?
Yeah, correct. Caster Semenya.
She's banned now, isn't she, from doing women's athletics? Not
entirely. She has to compete, I think, she's not allowed to compete in anything under 800 meters. So she can compete in races that are like, say, 1500 meters and so forth, because that's when testosterone is not necessarily as effective as if you're running 800, 400, 200, these kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
So she's been banned from running in the middle to shorter distances, although 800 is really not a middle distance run. So yeah, it's an unfortunate thing, because her body just produces testosterone naturally.
I remember that.
Yeah, she is classified as a woman, but if you look at her, she doesn't have a typical. Even her reproductive organs are not typical.
No,
they're not typical of a woman, and that's because she's androgynous. She has both. I think she has the testes, but they're internal testes, and this is why her body's producing testosterone at a higher level than most women. It's such a shame. It really is. She's been through a lot, that poor girl, man. She's brave. She's very brave. She's fighting it. She's taking them to court and everything.
Yeah,
she's fighting it, but she's not winning, because unfortunately, it's like mafia. The IAAF is like, any of these organizations are like mafia. It's very difficult to win against them. She's even taken to the court of arbitration in Switzerland.
Yeah,
it hasn't helped. It's a shame, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So what's have you got any more that you haven't spoken about? Have you got anything?
Yeah, I do indeed. I want to talk about somatotropin, otherwise known as the human growth hormone. The HGH, or human growth hormone, has had a very bad rap in recent times, because people are taking artificial or synthetic forms of it, and they're abusing it for weight training purposes and things like that. But the body, it's a natural hormone, and the body produces it, and it's essential for our longevity, for our life, a healthy life, and for our bodies to remain strong. And like testosterone as well, as we get older, particularly in men, that human growth hormone production drops. Unless we are active, we're eating healthy, it's going to drop quite significantly. And this is often, like with testosterone and lack of human growth hormone in the body, men get little boobies and things like this. It's because their production has dropped quite significantly, and their levels of estrogen in their bodies are too high. Synthetic form can be safe and useful for certain medical treatments. All right. I've been offered it before in the past. I just refuse. I choose not to use it, because I'd rather just stay purely natural. It's a peptide hormone, and it's basically secreted in the pituitary gland at the base of the brain, otherwise known as the third eye.
Mm-hmm.
And they sometimes think this is why the cycloptic legends, the legends of the Cyclops, this was their third eye. This was the third eye, and then it receded to the back of the brain.
Warren.
Yeah.
You just your last two sentences didn't come out very well. They broke up. Now, I don't know if it's me or you, or Can you just sort of repeat what you just said?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can, yes.
Okay, cool. I think it might have been me because you're coming through perfectly fine. Look, yeah, it's not important, but
I was interested about the third eye.
yeah, the third eye. So the cycloptic legend, the legend of the Cyclops. This they believed was the third eye, and then it receded into the back of the brain, where it now exists as a small gland, which is very powerful. And as you know, as I've just said, it secretes the human growth hormone. And the belief behind the legend was that when it was here, this is why the Cyclops was so big. They were huge because it does have its somatotropin is to do with your linear growth. All right. So for children, teenagers, and adolescents, it's to do with the actual growth. And so therefore it's essential that they have it really. It's also essential for muscle mass and also decreased body fat. So often when you have these figure athletes, or like these figure athletes or bodybuilders, they take HGH to reduce body fat quite quickly. So, and they're to really lean down a lot. A lot of these guys that you see and these ladies that you see on video shoots and all that, the muscular ones that are really, really lean, they're taking that in order to get that lean. Not all, but a lot of them. And then, so what triggers the growth hormone? Sleep, really. When we go through our sleep cycles, our rapid eye movement sleep cycles, and the more sleep cycles we go through in the evening, the more the growth hormone in our bodies are triggered. So very often you'll find that, especially for, as we've touched on in the past with our earlier edition of the Wednesday podcast, when we're talking about sports and athletes and things like this, sleep is essential for muscle maintenance, muscle growth, and these things. And that the reason being is because this is when the human growth hormone is released into the system, is when we are sleeping. So it's also increased. The production is also increased by stress and exercise and low glucose in the blood as well. For example, and I'll give an example of that is, I find that when I train on an empty stomach, and therefore the glucose in my blood are very low, I train like an animal compared to if I've eaten and then train. Even if I eat and don't train, like for an hour and a half, 2 hours later, I can train well, but I train so much better on an empty stomach because my blood sugar levels I haven't eaten since the night before, and then I train in the morning without eating, and my body's producing growth hormones through the sleep cycles, and then because my sugar levels are low, it's producing even more growth hormones through the system. So it's very effective that way. What else can I mention about? Yes. Oh, what?
No, I was just about to jump onto the next subject. Sorry.
A question that this has just popped in my head now as well is, some people think you can take growth hormones to grow taller. Now, it is true to an extent, but it's so minimal. The amount of height that you're going to gain from taking growth hormones is not, especially synthetic growth hormones, obviously, it's just not worth it. In terms of being able to grow taller, because this is a question I've had in the past. And it can work. So, but I wouldn't. It's not something that I would advise anybody doing. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've got one left, and that's thyroid. So I'm going to talk about that for a minute. Again, I didn't know too much about this, but so I'll put it over as best as I can. But the thyroid gland is part of the endocrine system. It produces thyroid hormones, which are extremely important for metabolic health. So So where is the thyroid? Do you know where it is? Oh, we've said it
Thyroid.
already, haven't we? We actually, it's here, isn't it? Yeah, it's here. It's not outwardly visible. And if someone didn't tell you where it was, you wouldn't know. Would that be fair?
Of course,
So,
yeah. It's because it's a gland. So you're not really going to be thinking about
that's
it's not
right.
something that you say. Unless it swells. If your thyroid gland swells, then you're going to know about it.
You're going to know about it, yeah.
Yeah.
It seems quite a few people have problems with the thyroid, and what it does, it regulates the body's metabolic rate, and controls the heart, the muscle, the digestive functions, brain development, and bone maintenance. So it's extremely important. As we said before, all hormones are, even if we haven't mentioned them. And what it requires is a good supply of iodine from the diet. Okay, so what happens is the cells producing thyroid hormones are very specialized in extracting and absorbing iodine from the blood and incorporating it into the thyroid hormones. So, yeah, don't you call me a shellfish? So again, we're not going to go into too deep because time's very, very important. And but it's so important. And you can have hyperthyroidism or hypothyroidism. One's the hyper is too much, and the other one, the hypo, is too little. So if you've got the one that's too much, then you've got symptoms of weight loss, fast heart rate, high irritability, nervousness, muscle weakness, tremors, and it goes on. Eye irritations and so on.
Yeah.
Now, with hypo, which is not, is not enough, you have weight gain. You have a much slower heart rate. For women, it's more frequent and stronger menstrual periods, forgetfulness, dry skin. It can affect your voice, your intolerance to cold. So it is very. It's something that must be in balance. Now they reckon about 200 million people worldwide have a problem with the thyroid,
Wow.
women are 5 to 8 times more likely to have a problem with the thyroid than men. And there's various things that cause thyroid problem, but one of the biggest things, again, we go back to it, is inflammation. So again, we can go back to the diet, So
most things come back to inflammation.
Yeah, absolutely. Not everything, but a lot of things. So, but iodine is the critical ingredient for the production of thyroid hormones. So, cool. with everything, if you have a problem, it is always best to speak to a professional. Oops, sorry about that. It's always better to speak to a professional, and you've got to be guided by the right people, and there's certain things that we can do. There's certain things we can't do. So if you want advice, then speak to us. We'll point you in the right direction. That's the easiest way. Yeah, the easiest way to, we are not medical professionals. Okay. There's a difference between being a medical professional and being a wellness coach or a fitness coach or nutrition
or a quack.
Or a quack. Yes. So we really do believe in fitness and health professionals. Okay. So with that, is there anything else you want to say for this call, Warren? Been one of the longest ones.
This has actually, we're bordering on 50 minutes right now. Wow.
Yes, I know. Yeah. If anyone's got any questions, please ask them. Come and say hello. Comment, whether you've liked this particular episode or not. We can take criticism. We want love as well.
Constructive criticism.
Constructive stuff. Questions that we can answer, and that way we all learn. So I hope this has been useful for people. So
it's been useful for us. I'll tell you that much at least, because it's going through these hormones has been a good reminder, and it's a nice recap to revisit a subject that doesn't always get touched on, except unless it's involved in dietary talk and things like this. So
yeah.
What
I would say as a general overall thing is work at your diet and your nutrition now, and your overall well-being, because it will eliminate loads of things that you could suffer from later. And it's as simple as that. And unfortunately, most of the population, and including the medical profession, tend to deal with things once they happen. Okay, they react to what has happened. Now, we do need to have that reactionary thing, the professionalism. But if more people spent more time preventing disease, especially things like inflammation, then maybe the world would be a much healthier place, or definitely the Western world,
and happier for that matter.
And happier, yeah. And that's what we want. That's what we want at the end of the day, isn't it? So, anyway, I'm going to end the broadcast unless you've got anything else you want to say, Warren.
No, thank you. I've had enough.
Yes, I'm going to go back to sleep now. Go and have my great granddad little nap now.
I'm going to go have my second power nap.
Great. Let's end this broadcast. Have a great weekend, everyone. I wish you all the success you're willing to work towards, and health as well. So we'll speak soon.
Enjoy.